MMA Noise. I'm Mike Schrock along with Bellator lightweight champion Michael Chandler. We're here at the world famous Church Street Boxing. You ever work out before?
I have not. It's very, very cool. It's got that, obviously, that old school dungeons type of boxing gym, and tons of posters and stuff on the wall. It's pretty cool.
Now, your first title defense coming up against Benson Henderson, the former UFC lightweight champion. I think this is a type of fight that I know you're going to love. Sort of unify the belts, don't you think?
I think so. This is a fight that's been a long time coming. He was the champion in the UFC at the same time I was champion in Bellator the first time. He was, number one in the world. I was between 3 and 5. And, I think that's a fight that a lot of people wanted to see, and now we finally get to see it. It's happening at the right time for me, and I think the wrong time for him. So I'm excited to go out there and perform.
One of the things that I find very interesting is that while you're a Bellator champion, Eddie Alvarez, who was your nemesis in Bellator, is now the UFC champion. That's got to make you feel great as well.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's definitely one of those things where, I have a finish over him, a stoppage, and arguably another win. I think half the people, or more than half the people, actually gave me that fight, So, man, you can't take anything away from Eddie. I'm excited that I'm excited for him. It's cool to see a guy who I know he trains hard. I know he lives his life right. I know he's a hell of a competitor. So, it's cool to see him have success in the sport. So,
Rory McDonald just signed with Bellator, and I think that a lot of people are getting a lot of attention going towards Bellator. How do you feel about the latest signing?
It's cool. I was at the show when they brought him out and announced it and did all that stuff, and the whole thing could be summed up in his that interview that he first did, and he just said Bellator may be an offer that nobody can match, and you're starting to see that. I think you're seeing more and more guys come over, and at the end of the day, it's great for fighters. It's great for the promotions to be switching guys back and forth. The UFC just picked up Marcin Held, and the Will Brooks came over, and Eddie Alvarez came over. So I mean, there's a lot of trading and switching and stuff going on between the organizations right now. So it's a great time to be a fighter. I think we're getting more and more, bigger and bigger paychecks and more rights as fighters, and as the sport grows. So it's a cool direction for the sport to be going in.
Well, you said that Benson Henderson, probably bad timing for him to fight you right now. Why do you think so?
I just think I've done nothing but improve, and I'm not sure if he has. I think he's been more stagnant than anything. The basics about him remain. I mean, he's a big body. He's hard to submit. He's got a heck of a chin, as we saw in that Koreshkov fight. Got dropped a couple times, but he'll keep fighting. He's just a tough guy to beat. I think he doesn't have very many losses, but he's not that impressive. I'm not impressed with his last performance. I definitely wasn't impressed when he fought Koreshkov, and he just hasn't looked impressive. And if you compare our two last few fights, I think the deck is stacked in my favor.
I'm sure cutting weight is not going to be easy for him either. Do you think you have an advantage there?
I think one thing you can say about him is he's a consummate professional. I think he looks pretty sucked down at 155, but I also think that he does things right. I think he's not cutting weight dangerously. I bet 8-10 weeks out he starts his weight cut, and he's disciplined for that 8 to 10 weeks, just like I am. I'm sitting at 190 right now, so I'm not exactly a small 155 pounder, but when it comes down to it and that training camp starts, it's all chicken and broccoli, and it's all 3 gallons of water a day, and it's strict for 8 to 10 weeks. Diet and train like a professional, and he's going to do that, and he'll show up, and he's performing. He's shown that he can perform at 155 and be a champion. So
I saw Philippe Nover back there all by himself preparing for his fight. How do you stay motivated when that guy's pretty much a nomad? You know what I mean? I know you've trained with him down at Nick Catone's place a few times. When you're a nomad like that, you sort of got to self-motivate. How difficult is that?
It is tough. I think, for me, I've switched training camps a lot recently. I've switched coaches. I've had basically 4 striking coaches in the last 4 fights, So it's cool. It's tough when you don't have consistency. I've had consistency with Neil Melanson ever since the beginning of my career. I'm trying to have that consistency with Henry Hooft and doing another training camp with him and work in his system. So it's a tough life when you're bouncing all over the place. I just was talking to Liam McGeary for Bellator, and he does his striking here and he does his grappling at another place, and when I was there in New Jersey with Frankie, he goes up to Ricardo's, and then he goes over to Rutgers to wrestle, and then he does his striking with Mark Henry. So different guys have their different systems and things that work well for them. For me, I love doing everything under one roof at one gym with the same coaches and the same training partners. But the mixed martial arts world is a crazy world, and things change like at the drop of a hat.
We know you're busy. Thank you for your time. What brings you here anyway? You doing a photo shoot?
We are here for myself, Luke Rockhold, and Robbie Lawler. I think Chris Algieri's coming in. We're doing a photo shoot for Adidas Combat Sports. So we all share the same sponsor, Adidas, and going to go to the Adidas headquarters after this, do some shopping, and get decked out in some Adidas stuff. You can check it all out at acsgear.com. Bunch of cool stuff. They have definitely stepped their game up when it comes to gear. So
thanks very much, Michael.
Thank you. I'm Michael Chandler, and you're watching MMA Noise.